Hi, Jack and Ethan.
Hey Mark, how are you?
Good. Light attendance today. I'm going to give people a couple more minutes to join. Um,
Oh, that sounds good. Awesome. Hey, quick question. So,
mhm.
you guys, I know that you primarily, I think JP Morgan in general, primarily deal with Intel SGX and TDX compared to SEV S&P. Is that correct?
I mm, don't think so. Where'd you get that information from?
So the reason why I assumed that was
Uh-huh.
I started to work on SGX TDX at Oracle
Hmm.
uh, concerning remote attestation, and
Hmm.
then I read online that the SGX is better for banking institutions because they can run like a specific workload as a in a confidential mode as compared
Hmm.
to SEV S&P, which requires you to run the entire VM
Yeah.
as
Hmm.
confidential. So
I see. Well, but then you extrapolate it to JP Morgan. Uh, so uh, our developers, they focus on business functions by and large. And because of that, hi Hank, I'm answering a question of what type of confidential computing a financial institution is likely to utilize while we're waiting more people to join.
Okay, hi there.
And so they write Python code and JavaScript code, and they really, productivity would probably tank if we ask these people to radically change the way they develop code. And, developing for SGX is notoriously difficult. So, you have to write sophisticated C code, or there has to be some kind of runtime. And, I'm not aware of a runtime that will let you just, run garden variety Python code in SGX. So, um, now we also are multi-cloud. So we have footprints in AWS, in GCP, and in Azure, as well as on-premises. And we have, we'll use Nitro in AWS, for some of the projects we're doing right now, which not strictly confidential computing, but satisfy some of the requirements. So I would say no. The answer to your question is unless it's a really special purpose and really sophisticated piece of code for which, we can dedicate the, developer talent, we will take the risk of additional TCB inherent in a confidential VM. Would simply lock it down. That would be my guess. Now, we're also a large organization with tens of thousands of people. So I cannot speak for all of them, but that from what I've seen to date, that is what I've observed. So I hope that answers your question.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense to me. Thank you.
Mhm.
So look, yeah, I don't want to take too much of this meeting's time, but just to summarize, you're saying that you don't specialize in SGX, TDX alone because most of your developers use Python and JavaScript, and moving to sophisticated SGX development would be harder. So you're using,
Unless
depending
you're
on the
doing
cloud.
something really, really niche and special purpose built, yeah.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Think about the applications in banking. Like, you cannot speak for what, quant guys and high frequency guys do. They may be doing something very specialized, as I said. But a lot of it is know your customers' applications, mortgage origination applications, risk management, go down the list. Even security applications can be written during garden variety AWS tools.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah. Hank, how are you doing? You were muted. Okay. It's not
I
responding
found the
anymore.
app. Yeah, it's an app. The tablets are horrible to some extent, but they're also awesome. No, I'm not doing well. I'm getting sick just before I'm flying out to the ITF, which is
Oh no.
tremendously useful. Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah.
right. And Montreal is not a place where you can treat a cold in beginning of November.
I am trying. I should really not be in this call, but I'm. I see it's not super populated, so maybe we are not doing a lot today.
Right.
Which,
Okay. Well, let's let's figure out how much we can accomplish today. So I'm dropping meeting
yeah.
notes in the chat or meeting minutes. Please add
Okay.
yourselves to the doc, and the next thing we'll be looking at would be the reference architecture. So let me drop that into the chat as well.
So the try meetings minutes are always there with me. I think I stopped closing them.
Yeah. So let's see. So let me quickly scroll through the document to basically show you the current. So we still have to decide on the entity relationship diagram. This is still outstanding, and I want to draw it and maybe like draw.io and drop it in here. But it's it's something we should probably have so we understand how the terms relate to each other. I transferred a lot of content from the informational draft into the reference architecture. So um, as like bugs are being pointed out, so there was some feedback on the mailing list on the draft from one or two individuals so far. And I'm yet to respond to the latest round, but I will do that probably later today. In some cases, the person misreads the draft or misses a key point, and in other cases, it's a legitimate bug and needs to be fixed. But the way I see going forward is the reference architecture is a superset of the draft. It talks about things that don't belong in the draft. For instance, it talks about short-lived workloads and sealing to the platform, which has nothing to do with IETF, right? But in other cases, and so that would never go back into the draft, but in other cases, I really think the draft should basically be a subset of the reference architecture that we publish. Okay, so I introduced in the last week a little write-up here that basically says there is not going to be a new architectural building block, and that's a claims mapper, and that's what I tentatively call it. And it basically says that it either consumes evidence or it consumes attestation results, but what it emits is claims, business-oriented claims that would enter the credential in whatever format the credential is expressed in. And a lot of this is unchanged. Now there are three variants to map what we're actually doing in the draft. There used to be two variants, so I added this one variant on the right. And let's see. The credential issue acquisition mechanisms have been renamed, basically following the topology. So there is no longer A, B, C, D, which I thought it's like nobody remembers what the first order chaotic system is, or second order chaotic system is, or type 1 error, type 2 error. Like there is no logic in that naming. So it's hard to think about that. But what I've done is so for instance, this is the workload talks to the verifier first and talks to the CA later, right? So that's the credential acquisition mechanism, and you can look at it and correct and immediately recall what it does. I used a feature of Mermaid that allows you to number the steps, so we could refer to them in discussions. And I added it has this node feature and a rectangle feature, which I used to basically show where the claims mapper is invoked. So you appraise your evidence, you map evidence to claims about the workload, and then you build attestation results out of including the credentials. So that would be how the claims mapper works here. And then go down the list. The same thing was done for all the other acquisition mechanisms. So again, it makes reading the architecture easier, I believe. All right, so the workload lifetimes session remained unchanged. We still talk about long-lived, short-lived workloads. I still need to, this is an older version of Mermaid. I need to re-render this. And provenance is what we need to talk about. Again, I have not paid any attention to provenance in the last week. I just sort of noted that it's there. We still need to talk about reverse proxies. That's for future discussion, like reverse proxies and how our identities go through reverse proxies, I believe deserves a mention. And this stuff, code platform binding, I think this all needs to be removed actually, and it needs to be part of the composite attestation or whatever, complex attestation work stream that's being done. I mentioned that workload migration may invalidate some of the claims, and we can say something in the reference architecture about how that might be done, I believe. But the discussion, Hank, remember yesterday in the meeting, it was said that it probably requires its own separate draft, which we have time to do by IETF 125 maybe, but if that's how we decide to go. But the reference architecture should talk about, you know, TWI and Whimsy, TWI and RATs, and maybe this as well. So anyway, so that's the current state. I added a few security considerations that we need to, like, these are the parties that are trusted, verify credential authority, claims mapper, key store. Like we should be using TLS to mitigate threats between parties, etc. This is like very bullet point. There we may put additional meat on the bones here, but these are the bones. That's it. So that's where we stand. I think it's a tremendous improvement of where we were just a few weeks ago. So I'm happy. Would you like to perhaps review this new brand new addition to the section that give me any comments? So maybe I can accept it and make it sort of officially part of the doc. That would be helpful.
Sure. You mean in our session here? I have to scroll down to the part then.
We can also go over some of the feedback that I received in email. I can bring it on the screen.
Okay, I have to find the part, to be honest. Is it before the diagrams?
Just search for claims
Yeah,
mapper.
I got it. It's way before the diagrams that I was looking.
Yeah.
Claims mapper. So claims is a term that defines that is already used by RFC 9334 that defines the contents of evidence or any other conceptual messages. So now we're writing in order to convert evidence that the workload collects about itself into business-centric claims. So I would say in order to convert the claims in evidence, that the workload collects about itself, that makes sense, it's in the tester, into
Oh, so
business
evidence
centric
consists
claims.
of claims, you're saying?
Yes,
I
exactly.
see.
and but these are very technical claims, and you want to have business centric claims
Yeah,
about a workload. A new architecture will work as required a claims mapper.
I
So
see. It's still,
now,
it can be still named a claims mapper. It's just now, instead of mapping evidence to claims, it's mapping claims to claims.
yeah, exactly. I would say assume that.
Okay.
Or it transforms the claims. I don't know. But I don't know. So mapping means that the business-centric claims already exist and are not derived. Is that correct?
Well, they certainly if you think about key value pairs, keys certainly exist, and values may be a constraint set, right? So I do not think the claims mapper is going to invent a new key. So, but it may be asked to produce a claim about location. And the value of that claim is not going to be Mars or Jupiter. It would be Germany or France, right? It's a constraint set.
That's a policy in RETS speak.
Yeah,
So the evidence that you get is appraised by the verifier, and that has appraisal policy. And the appraisal policy could include constraints about claims that are geolocation, for
it
example.
is not always an appraiser policy, right? So
Mhm.
in some cases, the inputs into the claims mapper are evidence. And in other cases, the input into the claims mapper are attestation results. And even in a third case, the input into the claims mapper, let me show you. So if you go down to where the workload computes, the workload owner computes the claims. So this would be the this is where the provisioning phase takes place. So this is the workload talks to the verifier and then gets the credential from the key store. So in the provisioning phase, the workload owner, this is before attestation, right? This is before workload isn't even started. This is before anything. The workload owner decides what identity a workload would have and what claims it would have. And then it creates a key release policy based on the expected attestation results. And then what happens is it sets these, it creates these credentials and stores them in as the key store to create and sign a credential, right? And then that credential, the public portion, is given to the workload. Now, when the workload starts, it will generate the encryption key, it will generate some evidence, it will ask the verifier to appraise the evidence and compute attestation results. See, the claims mapper is not involved here at all. This is just attestation results. But these attestation results are then used against the key store to get access to the credential key. Right? So the claims mapper can take all of these forms.
Yeah, it's still a little bit amorphous to me. So what I hear is that there is a starting workload. That's a blob, and there are claims about that blob
Yeah.
that will become a running workload at some point.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where these claims come from. They probably come from an endorser that is endorsing the workload and says
Well,
this is good because we build it, and also this and this is in there.
so if you
Which,
again, Hank, so remember that your claims, your business-centric claims, they could come from evidence, they could come from attestation results, or they could come out of band, effectively. And what is important to note here is business-centric claims are nowhere to be found in RATs, right?
yeah.
So except maybe in the first case. So in the case, this is the first one. So, all right, where I appraise my evidence and then immediately map evidence to claims about the workload, right? So that's where endorser may have something to say because I appraised the evidence and now I can say something about the evidence. The attestation results have not been generated yet. And even here, I didn't map claims directly into the attestation results. I claim them into something that gets encoded in a credential and then returned in attestation results.
So maybe due to lack of example, I can't distinguish a claims mapper from a appraisal procedure that the verifier conducts. So the
All right,
verifier checks claims from evidence, and it has, for example, a range of numbers. So for example, a evidence claim can include an SVN, a security version number, and the verifier has a reference value that says any security version number between A and B is fine. And then if it's in that table, the attestation result can say yes, SVN was fine, or could just say fine. So how differently works a claim mapper here?
Okay, so in this case, you you make that decision when you appraise the evidence, and then you create. So here's one situation: my evidence says my SVN is 5. And then the
Uh-huh.
claims mapper says SVN equal to 5, because it's between 4 and 6, says that it's perfectly fine to say this is the current version of the payroll application. So now it says I have a claim saying this is a payroll application. And then with that claim, it goes to the credential authority, and it gets a credential created with that claim. And that then attestation result contains a credential that is returned to the workload. Scroll down.
It
Here,
feels to
what?
me. Wait. Scroll. So what how this feels to me is that actually the credential authority is a relying party that wants to know that the appraisal of evidence via the claims mapper specific appraisal, which is SVN, is fine. As a result, that goes to the credential authority, which now allows it to return a credential.
Well, um, I I suppose it could be done that way, where you're going to just send some intermediate representation to the credential authority, and that would then deal with this. But in this case, a relying party in RAT's parlance always receives attestation results. In this
Yeah.
case, the attestation results are sent back to the workload, but in the attestation results, you encode the credential, right? So what the verifier does, after appraising the evidence, it will then go and say to the credential authority deals with things like, CSRs, right? It's not something that is part of the RATS architecture, but
Yes.
it would honor whatever claims have been computed and create, sign a credential, and return it.
Yeah.
So here
So
attestation results contain a credential, maybe among other things. But if you look here we appraise the evidence and we compute attestation results from evidence. So this is where
yeah.
the verifier is contacted not directly by the workload, but by credential authority, right?
Yeah.
And here what will happen is the attestation results are returned to the credential authority, but the credential authority now does the mapping of attestation results. See, the attestation results don't contain a credential in this case. It just contains whatever came out of the
Mhm.
evidence, right? It then maps the attestation results into the claims about the workload, where the credential is now signed and returned to the workload. The workload here did never directly attested.
It's never directly attested
As in,
because
it
it
never
never.
contacted the verifier directly.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. So this is the background check model. So you can just go to the relying party again, which is the certificate authority. Sorry, the credential authority, and that is your relying party. You set the evidence to the relying party. The relying party knows which verifier to use and will only act if the evidence is fine. A verifier checks, says okay, sends attestation result back to the relying party. Relying party is happy, includes some of so creates the credential most definitely, and returns that to the workload.
Yeah.
That seems pretty straightforward. I think that's what Mike Owensworth is a primary scenario for registration authorities with the CSR attestation.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
because the CSR, the issuer of the CSR is the workload, and the workload. Sorry, the CSR includes the evidence about the healthiness of the workload, or the requester of the credential, and the credential authority has no idea if the workload is healthy. Asks the verifier, gets the answer back, creates the credential, and gives it back to the workload. I think this is the most close to the entrust version of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So, let's see. There is one other, and this is where. Oh, so here, the attestation ends here. So workload goes to the verifier and gets back attestation results. This is the case where the verifier has not modified anything. right? That today's verifier returns attestation results. Maybe it's AR4SI draft, that this contains all your firmware versions and boot counts and the entity attestation token, all the low-level stuff. So nothing changed here, right? So what the workload does with that information, it creates a credentialing request with the key proof of possession and these attestation results, and goes to the credential authority with that. And the credential authority will now invoke the claims mapper and map these attestation results up here into claims about the workload, create signed credential, and return the credential. Right. So in this case, the credential authority is once again the original sort of relying party in RATS, right? But it returns the credential. So you know, this is the passport model. This is the background check model. What is this? This is the verifier. This is also the passport model because it effectively returns the attestation results, and that's your credential. Except this is right. So the what you get out of attestation results here is the credential, which you then go to. Perhaps we need to introduce the concept of an ultimate relying party because it becomes confusing. What RATS thinks of a relying party and what this document refers to as the relying party are two different things.
Yes, we have to qualify those. That makes sense.
Maybe we should introduce. Again, tentatively, I would call it the ultimate relying party. And that's the one that is not the RATS relying party, but the relying party that deals with business-centric claims.
The interesting thing here is that sometimes this claims mapper can be part of the appraisal procedure, either appraisal of evidence or appraisal of attestation results, or it's a standalone function that receives attestation. No, there will also be a appraisal of attestation results. So it feels to me it is an appraisal function.
Oh, by the way, there is another topology that we're not covering here at all, and that's the OG, the original background check model, where the workload would contact the relying party, the ultimate relying party, the payroll database, with just evidence. And the ultimate relying party goes and builds, receives claims about the workload by contacting the verifier itself. I have not covered that. This is not in any of our topologies.
Yeah, but this also looks a little bit like a background check model.
Correct. It's more. It is except the communication between the workload and this relying party is not based on X509 or the workload identity token or anything like that. It's that's why I didn't cover it. Actually, part of the reason I didn't cover it here is I'm trying to prioritize dealing with existing services. Right, existing services don't understand remote attestation. They just want to be, given industry standard credentials like, X09 or WIT or whatever.
Yeah, so CSR already will have probably very soon the capability to carry evidence or attestation results, or even endorsements, whatever. And I think we have to really understand, when is the claims mapper a real separate entity? Is it a function that's outside of a verifier or a relying party? And if that is the case, then it's a really distinguished role. Otherwise, I think it's a specialization of a role that has additional duties.
Yeah, and I hear you. And I think that depending on which topology you're in, it may be one or the other or the third thing, right?
Yeah.
It may be, see, here it's part of verifier. Here, it's what we discussed as a background check model, where it's part of the it's part of the
relying party.
The credential authority is the relying party, and it's doing this work. And here it's something else again, right? So the functionality is the same, but it manifests in different.
Yeah, exactly. This model here, remote attestation is already done. Attestation results arrive at the workload. So the workload is the relying party that requires this attestation result. But now it goes on a different journey to this dedicated claims mapper.
Yeah.
And that is, for example, that is a scenario where this functions outside verifier and a relying party.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because
right. So all of this now, I do not know in the real world which ones of these would be predominant. So here we're just striving for completeness, trying to basically say these are all the ways in which it can manifest itself. And there is not going to be a requirement saying implement all those things.
So I think these diagrams really help, and we should definitely have some CCC eyes on this.
Yeah. So this is what I've done so far. Let me just show you real quick. And I'm going to share another screen with you in a second. So let me. So I'm preparing right now a presentation for the IETF, right? Let's see. I want to.
Putting this on one slide will be difficult.
Oh, no, I'm not putting it on one slide.
Okay.
I want to share. What do I want to share?
I mean, a diagram this
Yeah.
long.
Of course,
Yeah.
no, of course.
So
this is a draft. I have not uploaded it yet anywhere, but this is my PowerPoint. Hey, can you see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
fancy.
All right, so this is going to be my presentation. So I'm basically talking about the key points. This is the radically expanding the total addressable market of computing. So of last count, we have 7,000 applications at the bank, right? And they're not going to be rewritten for computational computing. But if we could simply say, obtain these applications run with these credentials, and then they can participate in existing data exchanges, that becomes possible. And then I basically say we need to have relying party empathy. We need business-centric claims. Then I give examples from the RATS charter and the AR4SI draft, where we basically say roots of trust, component integrity, chip vendor. Like none of this stuff matters for business-centric claims. Like just my administrator is not going to be able to do that, right? And then what I do is I basically say, all right, we need the claims mapper. We need to integrate the claims mapper into the workload credential issuance flow. And then we talk about the credential key and credential. And eventually, I basically say, look, you can have the source of the key and source of the credential. But this is basically going over the same things that the draft goes through. And then these diagrams are presented in slides one after another. So there is one mechanism, another mechanism, third mechanism, and the fourth mechanism, which is separate provisioning and acquisition. So that's the majority of my talk, but each one of these will get its own slide and discussion.
I think that's excellent. I'm not entirely. I hope it will be readable enough. Maybe we can warn people that if they really want to participate in the discussion, that they should open a local Meet Echo to have them on their screens in the room or remote. That helps. You can pinch in.
I will have a PDF ready of this, of course.
Yeah. This will be on the data tracker.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and with that, I think we can figure out the nature of the claim mapper, and at least there's one scenario where it's outside the classical remote attestation procedure, because the attestation results then triggers the workload to get the attestation result. Basically, is the entrance key to the credential once we have.
Yeah.
So, but it seems to me, even if you call them business claims, business-centric claims, that it's a very specific type of appraisal still, even if it's happening outside the classic role in the, I want to say, third to last.
Right. So this is a in addition to the RATS architecture, but what I'm saying, it can fit within the architecture. Just we need to you know, think about some additional computations in some places, or
Maybe it's a
additional.
business centric claims appraisal, and this business centric claims appraisal can happen on a classical role that does appraisal, like a verifier or relying party. It even happens, maybe. No, it does not happen in the. So if you go to the third diagram again, please. There's an interesting conundrum here exactly. So per definition, attestation results are sent from the verifier to the relying party, which formally makes the workload a relying party. But that relying party can't do any attestation result appraisal. It doesn't want to. It just wants to give now this attestation result to another relying party, which is I don't know, to the claims mapper, and now gets the credential back.
Yeah.
And that is an interesting conundrum, and I think that's worth discussing. Like the first two are relatively easy to map. This one here is a little bit of a how would we map it? Do we invent new roles for this, or do we have another relying party, as you said, or how should we deal this with RETS terms to map it well, so everybody on your side gets it? Because we think we know what we're doing. Now we have to talk about the same thing. I think that's a good story.
This is the case, by the way. This is the case where the verifier did not make any changes at all. This is like, you know, you take Microsoft Azure Attestation Service, it will return attestation results in whatever format they chose, or maybe we standardize on entity attestation token. That's what it returns. So no change has been made, and this is where the workload needs to do additional work, right? This is where it will create this credential request, and this becomes, like, for instance, in case of a certificate authority, you need to send the certificate authority a certificate request, right? CSR. And you know, in this case, the certificate authority is not really the relying party, right? It is, well, I guess it is in the traditional RAS parlance, right? Because you need to present, you're effectively presenting it attestation results, maybe inside a credential request, but still, right? And that's the thing that will give you the certificate or the token, with which you can then go to your payroll database.
Yeah.
So
okay, I think I get the gist of it, and I think that's good discussion material. Do you remember how much time you
yes,
allotted?
they've given me the full half hour.
Oh, cool. That makes
But it's
sense.
going to be on Friday, and it's going to be the last talk. So, you know, the bad news is everybody's going to be tired already. But, you know, 30 minutes is still good, because I think there is going to be a lot of ground to cover. But before we break, I just still wanted to see if you what you think about this
this text,
this text particularly. Yeah.
A new architecture build is required. That is a bold claim. So it is, in order
What
to
is the bold
convert,
claim?
that we need a new architecture building block. Yeah, maybe. So in order to convert claims and evidence into business-centric claims about a workload. And I'm not entirely sure that's a conversion. I think the wording rubs me a little bit wrong. It feels to me that in most diagrams,
Well, we
it
can
is
say map. We can say in order to map.
Let me. I can control Z this back. Let me just go with this, and then tell me what's wrong with it. In order to appraise claims and evidence that the workload claims itself with business-centric reference claims, about
That
the
just made it a
workload.
lot harder to read.
Yeah, I know, but that's just Red's terminology. I can again make this go away again, and here we go. So yeah, of course it's harder to read, but it would use the Red's lingo. So now you with the first with the altered version, you would not always need a new role. You have a certain appraisal function for business-centric claims, and this can be co-located with a verifier or a relying party. But in a few scenarios, it is not, and then it needs its own containing role. And that's the ask, I think.
Yeah,
So
that's like it's not a new service. Like verifier is a service, right? The credential authority is a service.
yeah,
Claims mapper is like a procedure. It's a policy-driven function call. I mean, it could be a service,
sounds
of course.
sounds very verifier or relying party-ish, because that is a policy-driven service. Both of them are.
Right. And
And
as
relying
we've
parties is
discussed,
always.
it's just the manner in which it is invoked, changes very much based on scenario.
Yeah, but prepare for that discussion. I think
Yeah.
that's the lead of it. If we can find some consensus on how to lay that out and how to name it in the session, that would be a really nice step forward.
Yeah.
In some cases, the claims are generated from the evidence. The claims in this claims you mean the business-centric claims, right?
Yes.
Repeat that here,
Yeah. Or
because
maybe
otherwise,
output claims.
or output claims, yeah, whatever you want to do. Are generated from the evidence available
Well,
in
we can
other
say
cases.
the business-centric output claims.
Yeah, are generated from the evidence available by the workload. Other cases from the attestation rights als computed by the way upon examining the evidence. Okay, in all cases, the decision on one, and now I don't know what one is. I'm looking up. What is one?
No, one is this, whether to accept inputs as valid.
Ah. That's and I can't spell. So it's about either
Well,
whether to
both.
accept the inputs.
It's both, right? First, they need to know if they're valid, and if they are valid, then.
Then I just do an OR, and we have all the combination topic, which claims to
Well, it's both, really. You're saying it's either or, it's one or the other, and I'm saying it's both one and two. In all cases, the decision is, there are two decisions.
Yeah. Okay. Why is this now? Because it wants to have a plural. The decisions are about one, whether to accept it. You can say and or.
Right.
Two,
Well, it's really
which
and, because if they're not valid claims, then you're not gonna,
okay,
you're just gonna
and we
deny.
don't. And two, which claims to emit based on these inputs is going to be made by the claims. Okay, I don't get it, the last one. In all cases, the decisions are about one, whether to accept the inputs as valid, okay, and two, which claims to emit based on these inputs. Is this a sentence? Is going to be made by the
It was a
claims.
sentence before you made a bunch of changes to it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I probably killed it. Sorry. We can I can control that all back. So if you like, I don't know. I was just
Well, let's
spitballing.
go to how it was phrased before, okay?
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Oh, hold on.
You're not. Yeah, that's not you. I have to do this. Chip, 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 chip. Either is also not correct.
Just keep going.
Yeah, and here we go. Decision on one. In all cases, the decisions on one, whether to accept inputs as valid, and two, which claims to emit based on these inputs, are going to be made by the claims wrapper policy. It's still hard to read. May the sentence it needs work.
So you have a case where you take in evidence and you emit business-centric claims, and in the other case, you have attestation results and you emit business-centric claims. And I mean, maybe I should just replace it with a picture, because picture one is evidence in, business-centric claims out. Case two, attestation results in, business-centric claims out.
Yeah, I still think you have to make a case for how business-centric claims are not just a subset of claims and therefore claims.
Well, I mean, they're not, because they come out of an entirely different dictionary, right? The evidence
yeah,
dictionary is, this is, here's a bunch of, evidence. This is my firmware version, and this is my boot count, and this is my SVN, and this is this and that, right? It's one dictionary. The business-centric dictionary is payroll application, location Germany.
yeah, well, sounds like a claim to me. But again, that's a discussion
Oh,
that
they're
we
all
can make.
claims, but
Yeah,
claims are
yeah,
attribute
yeah.
value pairs. They're key value pairs, and the keys come from different dictionaries. That's the mapping.
Yeah,
Be-
okay. You're adding new business-centric claims. Okay, yeah, I can work with that. Okay. Maybe I'm too hooked up on the business-centric differentiation.
oh,
But yeah, but that's
I'm an
fine. Yeah.
engineer at heart. I prefer security version numbers to business-centric claims, but the world I operate in is business.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, yeah, that might be an interesting notion to it. Um, as well as we create those in attestation results sometimes here,
Yeah,
even with the again mapper fields like you want to map one claim to another. This is like mapping sounds semantically connected now instead of transform or something. But maybe the name needs to work. But it's a working title, and we can go into the
right.
discussion with saying we have a working title here. It might not be perfect. Maybe we can come out of this
Yeah.
discussion with a
It could
better
be a
name.
translator. I mean, it could be claims translator, because it's really to dictionaries that it translates. But
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but I think this is good material. So this is a lot. This is already good enough for discussion at the meeting.
okay.
I think.
All right. Well, so I don't know if we're going to have a meeting next week because of IETF. Maybe not.
I will definitely not attend
Yeah.
meetings at a meeting.
But what I will do before the next meeting is I will take my deck and I will email it to the list and ask people to comment on what they think about it. And
Makes sense.
if any edits. And I will also monitor the mailing list for uh, questions. So there is one email exchange that I will respond to today, where a person asked a number of questions, and I will do that. And when can I, if I were to update the draft, is there still a time between now and next week when it's discussed that I could, create another version if I needed
Yeah,
to, like, fix a few things?
the moratorium is lifted latest, I think, on Monday with the start of the ITF.
Okay. Because I've
So you
seen
have to.
lots and lots of drafts, like certainly in Whimsy, being updated, and then when in drafts, people have been updating it. Like, new version of this has been published. Like I see
Yeah,
like,
this is all with the help of the error director. Nobody can do that by themselves.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
even my IDs have been updated because they are a queue for the publication, and the AD wanted some items in for review, and
Hmm.
so he forced them through basically. But you need an AD to make that happen.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I'm perfectly fine waiting. Hank, thank you so much for your help today. And I'm not going to be at ITF in person, but I will be attending all the meetings.
That is really great. Yeah, I don't know how I will survive. I really need to rest. I will do 1 or 2 calls today and then just call it a day. I haven't even packed
Right.
yet. That's
Well,
also a disaster. Getting sick at this point is really the worst
this
time.
is a terrible time. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, well, get better. I'm gonna let you
Yeah.
go, and we'll talk next week.
Okay.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.